Hi, I'm Courage the Cowardly Dog, and I'm currently appearing in Straight Outta Nowhere, this wonderful crossover between Courage and Scooby-Doo, and you are currently listening to a podcast named Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey gang, and welcome to another episode of a podcast named Scooby-Doo Extra. For anybody who may not be familiar with the format of these extra episodes, essentially, this is the added value content show. If there is a commentary or a special episode or a conversation that is specifically tied into a DVD release or a show release or something like that, this is where it goes. And as such, I'm thrilled to be welcoming somebody to the show today that hasn't really touched the franchise before, but is no stranger to animation. And if you're a fan of kind of kooky fringe Cartoon Network shows, you're probably familiar with a little show that ran for 4 seasons called Courage the Cowardly Dog. And I'm lucky enough to have gotten the opportunity to chat with the voice of Courage, Marty Grabstein. For anybody who is in any way in the know of Scooby-Doo right now, you are probably aware that there is a brand new straight-to-DVD film that just came out, Straight Outta Nowhere, Scooby-Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog. It's video and digital September 14th, which is today, which is when I'm releasing this episode. If you haven't checked out the movie, definitely go check it out. I'm going to be probably doing a review of the film. It'll either be a podcast episode or it'll end up on the blog named Scooby-Doo at some point, so I'll let you know where that is. But until then, avail yourselves of this great conversation I had with Marty. He's such a great personality, such great fun to talk to. I think I've done the least bit of editing on this interview that I've done on just about any interview I've ever done, because once Marty gets on a roll, you just go with it. It's all entertaining. Like I said, it was great fun, and I'm sure you guys are probably going to enjoy it as much as I did. There shouldn't be any spoilers. I don't believe there's any spoilers in this conversation. So if you haven't seen the film yet, feel free to listen to the show. And if you have seen the film, then clearly this is dessert, essentially. So without further ado, I'll let you get to the conversation, and I will meet you all on the other side.
I am so sorry not to finish this properly. It's a bit of a family emergency. You understand.
Absolutely. Good luck. Hi, my name is Marty Grabstein, and I am so excited to be here with Mike on a podcast named Scooby-Doo. This is what it's going to be like for you, man.
All right.
So how are you, man?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. Glad to see you.
So welcome, everybody. I am sitting here talking to the wonderful Marty Grabstein, who most of my audience would probably know best as the voice of Courage the Cowardly Dog, currently appearing in Straight Outta Nowhere, the Scooby-Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog crossover.
Folks, those of you who are listening, this is a very loose format here, but I'm going to come here. I'm going to actually express to you. It's going to be released September 14th. It's a Warner Brothers release. It's wonderful. September 14th on DVD and digital, which means you can download it and you can stream it. Do it all.
Seeing as it is primarily a Scooby-Doo podcast, I'm going to start with a Scooby-Doo question. It's a question I ask most of my guests right off the bat, and that is, what is your first point of contact with the franchise? What were you a fan as a kid? Is it something that was just always on the peripheral?
My first point of what could you ask me to? I'm confused by that question. What was my first point of view of the franchise? Meaning,
yeah, like what was your first experience with Scooby-Doo? Was it you watched it as a kid, or it's just something that's always?
Did I watch it as a kid? Okay, no, honestly, regarding Scooby-Doo, I did not watch it as a kid, but I'll tell you what my first point of view is, kind of interestingly enough. Nerds that generally befriended me when I became an older person were fans of Scooby-Doo. And so these nerds, because when you're a nerd, you don't have to, it's not like you stop being a kid. You're proud of your nerddom, and you're able to kind of, you enjoy all the wonderful things. Listen, I was a nerd for Bugs Bunny many years after it was, a kid's thing. I was in love with it as an adult. I would watch Bugs Bunny cartoons. So these kids these older kids / almost young adults would watch Scooby-Doo, and I would then watch it from that point of view. And I thought it was a cool thing. It was kind of a fun, vibrant thing. And I love the fact that Scooby-Doo was the mystery thing, the whole mystery thing. I always got a kick out of mysteries anyway, right? So I dug that it was number one, a mystery thing. And I dug that he had a posse. He had a posse, I love the gang. I particularly like Velma. I was a particular fan of Velma's. I think a lot of young men were, actually, if I may say so myself.
I like that you mentioned
Velma.
I like that you mentioned the Looney Tunes, because I've been kind of binging through. I'm ashamed to admit, though, I've been aware of Courage since its inception. I've actually never seen an episode until I had this interview scheduled, and I've been kind of crushing a bunch of Courage episodes. And there's such a Looney Tunes vibe to them. And
yes, there is, isn't it?
Is that part of the appeal to doing Courage for you?
I think so. Honestly, I have to say that I do believe that one of the great appeals of Courage, and I am so blessed to have gotten to do this thing, because this is so much the spirit of me, of what I am about. I'm telling you that I grew up with Looney Tunes. Bugs Bunny was my favorite. So many of the great old Warner Brothers, ironically, that it's Warner Brothers, which I think is that much more sweet, that these are the people that have, done this movie and given new life to Courage after many years. So I'm happy about that. But the idea that a cartoon isn't necessarily sophomoric. It isn't necessarily for just little kids, and that kids of all ages can, in many cases, enjoy the beauty of certain cartoons. I certainly think very few fall that much into that crossover category of tastes as the old Looney Tunes cartoons from Warner Brothers, all the in-jokes, the jokes that the kids might not have gotten, but adults would wink, wink, get. And I love that. And the fact that Courage has some of that sort of spirit, I believe. And that's, it's like, I got to do Courage. I got to do this, this character who seemed to, I was thinking that myself, that it has resemblance to the old Looney Tune cartoons. So I think you are correct, in my opinion, Mike.
So as you just mentioned, it's been a few years since you voiced Courage, and I was curious what it was like getting the call, being invited back to do that.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was so great when I got called by Warner Brothers, and they said, "Hey, we're going to be doing this cartoon, this crossover, Scooby-Doo meets Courage," and I was like, "No, are you kidding me? Are you absolutely?" I was so excited, I couldn't. I was like beside myself. To be honest, it's a little overdue, in my opinion. I think Courage needed Scooby-Doo 46 movies already. You know what I'm saying? Great. Scooby-Doo's an enterprise. It's what's the word? Empire, I was going to say. Courage never had a movie. I've been waiting for a Courage movie for 20 years, but here it is. It's a mixed bag. To their credit, I have to really take my hats off. I think it's a wonderful movie, first of all. And I love how they managed to mix the two universes, kind of blend them in, I believe, somewhat seamlessly, even though Courage is a little more edgy and more ultra dark, more freaky, more creepy, and Scooby-Doo a little bit more like suspenseful, more family friendly, and the idea of somehow matching those two and having them be in the same universe, I think is wonderful. And to their credit, it takes place mostly in nowhere, in Courage's universe, which I think is absolutely a delight, a wonderful thing that they did that. And
that was probably the thing for me that was the most interesting, because I wasn't really sure what it was going to be when it was announced. I was really looking forward to it. And to see that they leaned a lot further into Courage territory than I thought they were going to. And it took on that kind of vignette quality, and they embraced some of that real weirdness and just sort of folded the Scooby-Doo characters into it. and because so much of it takes place in nowhere, and the music, they've got the folks doing the music from the original Courage
That's right.
series.
Jody Gray and Andy Ezra, both of them wonderful.
Which gives it that atmosphere and that flavor. It's kind of crazy, and I'm not sure if they pull it off 100%, but I love the fact that they tried.
That they pulled what off 100%?
Blending the two universes. I don't think it was as seamless as you would say, but I love the ambition of it. I would rather see somebody try something new and not have it work perfectly than to just see the same old thing over and over and over again. And bringing these two properties together, I thought was kind of genius to begin with. And as you said, long overdue. There's many dogs in the pound. Scooby's not the only one.
Well, I want to go on record strictly on a selfish level. And, listen, I care. I don't want Warner Brothers. I don't want you to think I don't care about Scooby-Doo. I care about Scooby-Doo. But let's face it, I'm on also a podcast named Scooby-Doo. So to be honest, I'm sort of the whippersnapper of the group. Have you ever heard anybody use that term in quite some time? When was the last time you heard the word whippersnapper used, my friend?
Probably a few months ago. I use it myself.
You use whippersnapper? Get out of here, you. Wizard of Oz, 1939. But anyway, so I got that. But honestly, I do kind of, I'm kind of deeply happy that you feel you didn't think they would do as much in the Courage world, into that oddly creepy kind of world as they did do. So I myself will tell you that if you would watch a whole lot of the Courage stuff, you would see that Courage gets even more ridiculously freaky and creepy to the point of like that, which is cool. I mean, I think it's cool in that respect. It gives it special. So I feel, believe it or not, this is tamer than usual.
Yeah, and honestly, for me, I think that's where it maybe fell a little bit short, in that I kind of wish they went all in with the Courage. I wish that they really went and put the Scooby-Doo characters into the Courage world rather than sort of blending the two per se. Like some of the crazier sequences with the musical stuff and the weird backgrounds and the different colors and patterns, and some of the meteor stuff kind of like later on in the film, like that's where I was really excited, and always got a little bit disappointed when they sort of like pulled it back a little bit more into the sort of Scooby reality. Because I mean, like you said, we've got 40 odd movies of Scooby as is, and how many movies does Courage have? So
absolutely. But you know what? As you say, well, I mean, honestly, I'm going to tell you, I first of all, number one, I have not watched the movie all the way through. I've only watched bits and pieces. Why have I not watched it? I know what it's about. I know how it looks. I know the tone of it in various spots, so I understand all of that. But I choose not to watch the whole thing because I want to watch it when it comes out on the 14th with friends and family, and like, this is my first time watching it as well. So I want to do that as well. But
on DVD and digital.
Absolutely, that's right. So my feeling about it is that I number one would certainly say, if I were doing this, I don't know how. People want to see Scooby-Doo. There's Scooby-Doo fans and there's Courage fans, and so the challenge for a filmmaker, I believe, what Larry David said. It's like a compromise, right? And you know what a compromise is? A compromise is when both people walk away unhappy. So I think that's not what I'm saying here, folks. I'm saying something's got to give when there's that thing going on, when they're 100%. Trying to do the two universes. And so I just love that it even exists. And
exactly.
And believe me, I hope that at the very least it creates enough excitement about Courage as a character and his appeal that they would maybe truly, finally, make another Courage series. I think it's time to bring back Courage as a series. I do believe so.
Speaking of which, there have been a few attempts to bring Courage back in some form over the years, and from everything that I've kind of read about this film, it originally started as an episode of Scooby-Doo and Guess Who, and then somewhere along the line, somebody had the idea of expanding it into a film. I was curious if you had been contacted back at that early stage, or if you only were sort of informed and brought in when they had already decided that it was going to be a full film.
Honestly, this is the first I'm hearing of that, what you just said. This is
Fair
the first I'm hearing of it, which is not a surprise to me because, I mean, listen, if you're in the trenches with this stuff, so you're going to hear the dirt that I get, after the fact. That's my guess. As a matter of fact, Mike, I'm coming to you if I want to know anything that's going on in the future, anything that's rumbling amidst the ether. I'm going to come to you first because I'm not going to hear about it. You'll hear about it before I do. That's my thinking about this. Okay, so see what I'm doing right now? All that stuff. This is me not knowing where we are. This is good. This is human, right? Really. So I'm with you, man. What were we talking? Were we talking about anything? Did I answer your question on that one? Or
you did answer my question on that one. Let's move it along. Move it along.
Move it along, will you please?
No, I got to pick up the pieces here.
Oh man, listen, Mike. There's no right or wrong about this, man.
That's true. That's true. So with the new film,
it might be a different story. We might be in serious trouble if I was.
With the new film, the voice direction is by Wes Gleason, and originally with Courage, I believe it was Peter Fernandez.
Peter Fernandez, who was the vocal director
for Courage.
Yeah. Is that what you meant? The voice director, right? Vocal
and I'm wondering, working 4 seasons with Peter and then coming back and revisiting Courage for the film with Wes Gleason doing the direction. Were there any differences? Was it an odd adjustment? Was it like putting on an old pair of socks?
I'm gonna tell you, man. And thank you for reminding me of his name because now it's been, remember I recorded this thing about, I did the redos about in December of last year, and I did the actual recording of previous December. In December 2019 is when I actually recorded this thing. So this is like, more than a year and a half passed from the time I did it. And it was Wes Gleason. He was wonderful. And I'll tell you what it was. It's a different world. Peter Fernandez, God rest his soul, he was taking John Dilworth's very odd and unusual vision, and trying to get me, who, by the way, Dilworth himself did not exactly know how this character should sound. He only knew how this character should not sound. So it was an interesting thing. He was hoping to go through everything he could and hoping that the auditions would tell him how the character should sound. I think I'm correct about that, John. I think I'm right about that, John, okay? I really got a call from a friend of mine I haven't spoken to in 6 years, and she contacted me and said, this guy's been listening. I'm working for John Dilworth doing Courage the Cowardly Dog. He's been trying to do this thing, this new cartoon character, and he can't seem to find who he wants. He's listened to every great voiceover artist in the city. So he brought me in. Somehow my curious, scratchy, raspy voice captured him, but he wanted me to pitch it high like that, which made it even that much more weird sounding or offbeat sounding, and I guess he went for it. So you never really know how it goes. So Peter Fernandez took that odd vision and, really was trying to create something out of nothing, as Seinfeld would say, right? And so going to Wes Gleason, he was like, first of all, he brought me in like I was like royalty. He treated me like royalty, Marty, like a red carpet feeling, and this was so wonderful, so gracious of him. So his style was essentially to not reinvent the wheel. He understood Courage basically, but he felt I definitely understood the soul of the character. So he wanted me to take the piece and, interpret the lines how he felt, and the sounds, because mostly sounds and some lines, but he wanted me to interpret that the way Courage would, and he would only, he would be listening to it, and often he would actually, defer to my interpretation rather than even his own. And he was very much a collaborative spirit with this thing. Similar to, it was collaborative with Peter Fernandez too, but there was nothing then. Now this is, how do we revisit this and take this new script, and make sure that courage comes through. And I thought that was really great. It was a wonderful experience. And once I was worried, I was nervous, I was sweating bullets, schwitzing, as my mother would say. And so, I was so relieved when it was like, so how would you do? How would you try it? Do you think maybe we should have a line here? Or, because every once in a while, Courage would have a line here and there, lines, this and that. It was always a whole crazy thing with that. And so we'd go, well, let's try it this way. And he would say, yes, that's good. It was wonderful. Great experience.
Was there any temptation to take Courage back to more of like the earlier seasons where he spoke more? Or did you always want to keep it with more of the sort of mumbly sounds?
You're talking about working with Wes, you mean?
Yeah, on the new film. Was there any temptation to go back to a talkative Courage? Or was it always like, let's keep it, this is the character?
Well, to be fair, the script itself had more, it wasn't at the most talkative, but it was sort of a hybrid. It wasn't just, just the sounds with an occasional line. There actually were lines, little lines, short lines. Well, that's me, or sorry, gesundheit, or, things like that, where he would say lines. That was written into the script. It's not like I reinvent the wheel there with that, but they had already gone a little bit more closer to the first season than the last three seasons, right? They already in the script had sort of done that. And so periodically I maybe here or there did a line, they said, let's do that, let's use that. So I think there was an attention to a little bit more like the first season, but not to go too much of the talking. Why? Because we got to move this thing along. This is a full film and there's a whole lot of people that have to shine in this film. So, I think it was great, the balance. I was tickled because, let's face it, as an actor, I like having lines. I enjoyed the first season. I enjoyed the last three seasons. I enjoyed all of it. It was wonderful. And it was in some ways more challenging when I hardly had any lines. But there's no question that the first season for me has a special feeling because there were more Courage lines. And I will tell you right now, when the fans come up to me at conventions that I go to, they want to say all the things I do for love. They want to see, I have a feeling something bad is going to happen. They want to hear those lines. Yeah. It's interesting. The fans do speak, don't they? As you would probably attest in the Scooby-Doo world, right?
Yeah. You mentioned you did the initial recording in 2019. Was it done remotely, or did you actually go into the studio? Did you get to reunite with any of the original cast or meet any of the new cast?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to bring this up if you didn't, but thank you for bringing this up. First of all, I did go to the studio. We did record it in the studio because they didn't want to take a chance on my setup here, and they want to make sure it's the best setup possible for a film with this kind of money. You're right. Not that I know how much money they spent. You understand? I don't know how much money they spent, but I'm sure it's a lot more than I have in my bank account. So, but that being said, so yeah, I went in. Despite pandemic, I was always alone in the booth. Every time I recorded, it was alone in the booth. Even back then, it was not like I was working with other people and playing. It was always me in the booth alone doing those lines or those sounds, and then they would match them up with the characters. And I would meet my compadres, in the lobby or in the waiting room, in the ante room, whatever it is. We would chat and stuff like that, or I would watch their sessions. They would watch my sessions. It was kind of a fun thing. Thea White, though, what a pleasure to be reunited with her. So sad that she left us, just a couple of months ago now. She became a very good friend of mine and a very dear friend of mine. Very sad to miss her, to lose her. But it was so wonderful that she got to do this movie. That her voice is in this movie, that she has lent her brilliance and her beauty and her delight, her warmth in this movie, and that I got a chance to act with her one last time, you know, in this great, you know, these great characters. And the relationship was so strong between Muriel and Courage anyway. So it was wonderful. Sadly, of course, Eustace had died, you know, after the third season, Lionel Wilson, and then it was Arthur Anderson for the last season. He died also. So this Eustace was Jeff Bergman, who actually, you know, was Bugs Bunny, you know, the more recent Bugs Bunny guy, right? From like the 90s or whatever that was. Am I right? It was like the 90s.
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, it's Eric Bauza now.
And it was like, how wonderful that because he sounds very much like Lionel Wilson. He really did not try to reinvent the wheel on that either. So I think he does a wonderful job of Eustace. So maybe, you know, I'm assuming if they do another series, it's got to be Jeff Bergman playing Eustace. I would have to lobby for that, you know. Not that my lobbying carries much water with, you know, with the executives, but God bless you, executive. Use Jeff Bergman for the new Courage series you're going to be producing. Please. I think that would be a good thing for all of us. Okay.
I don't know how much you remember about the script of like the ending of the film, and I'm comfortable with sort of soft spoilers because this isn't going to come out before the movie. But watching the end of the film where Muriel is talking to Scooby and Courage.
Hold on, before you say anything, wait. I'm sorry. Let me stop you. Can I stop you?
You can stop me.
This might be a fun stop. It might be a fun stop.
All right.
First of all, I didn't watch the whole film, so you know, I would kind of, you know, are you going to give anything away by telling me this?
No.
You might, right?
Well,
so
didn't you read the script?
Yeah, but I don't remember. Like, I don't remember. Well, that was in days, you know. But plus, I'm also wondering, you know, I'm wondering in terms of spoilers. You know, far be it from me. It's none of my business. But I was thinking probably would we not want to, like, would we not want to keep the endings of things away, you know, like not have anybody know until the very, you know, until they actually see it. I'm just afraid because I know you have a following here. So if we talk about the ending, but here's what I'm going to say. Is there anything you can ask me without actually giving it away and still ask me the question? How's that?
Well, it wasn't a question. It was more of a statement. Just Muriel's last scene in the film, essentially, which comes near the very end of the film. And she's talking to Courage and Scooby. And
so this doesn't give anything away as far as
doesn't give anything away.
Right?
No.
Okay, great. Okay.
Just the vocal performance. And I mean, she was kind of such a bright light, and there's so much warmth in her delivery, and it was probably enhanced knowing that we recently lost Thea, and I got a little bit eyes watered a little bit watching that scene. It was really kind of touching, and it was a warm scene to begin with, and then there's just kind of what she brought to it, and you were just talking about how kind of sad it is that we lost her not that long ago.
So
and I was thinking about that.
So all that hoopla, all that nonsense I just went through, I hope you don't want to give anything away, was absolutely ridiculous, right?
But now the listeners know how much you care about their spoilers.
Right, look, how about that? I didn't want you to know. Here's the guy. You like this guy. You listen to this guy all the time, right? And yet here I was being a guest saying, oh, don't give anything away. This is a wonderful thing.
But you didn't want me to spoil it for you either, so that was fair.
You know something? There was that going on. But actually, mostly it was the other thing. I was a red herring to a certain extent. But I do feel that way. But I'm so glad you told me this, because now I will be absolutely looking forward to seeing this final scene between the two of them that maybe I'm sure will break me up too, I'm sure. So, yeah, I read the script. Did you read the script? This smart guy. Did you read the script? Yes, I read the script. Look, buddy, I got other things. You think I've memorized the script? I've moved on. It's a blur. My whole life is a blur.
You just read your lines, right?
Of course I read my lines.
circling back just quickly,
Yes, sir.
did you get to meet or work directly with any of the Scooby cast?
I was disappointed on that because especially knowing, first of all, Matthew Lillard, who I enjoyed so much, Kate McCucci and Greg Griffin, loving them. And especially, in my opinion, the great, glorious Frank Welker, who's like, the king of Scoobies,
The living legend.
I think in general. And, I just feel like, wow, I really feel like I should meet Frank Welker. I mean, I think he and I should meet. I mean, wouldn't that be a good thing to happen?
I feel the same way. I think Frank and I should meet as well.
You don't care if I meet him, something.
Well, I think Frank should meet you as well. I think Frank should meet both of us.
You're the best, Mike. You're great, man. I love it. You got some chutzpah there, man. So we need more chutzpah in this world. So absolutely. So if you want to meet him and you want me to meet him, so let's hook it up. Let's get a meeting. Let's do something. Let's do an interview. Let's do something, man.
Road trip.
Courage and Scooby. Come on. It's a podcast named Scooby. What do you think? He's not going to appear on your show?
I never even thought of that. I always think of Frank as Fred, but Frank also does Scooby. So that would be Courage and Scooby in the same room.
That's what I'm trying to say. What am I saying?
I see what you're trying to say. I'm
saying?
picking up what you're laying down.
I know. Nothing. But honestly, I believe I'd have to meet up with him. I, by the way, will probably figure out a way to meet up with him on my own, just to meet him in some way, because I think it would be a shame to not. I think it would be just like, what a cool thing that we both got to do this thing and we got to see each other and, maybe at a convention or something like that. Maybe do something like that, appear at a convention together that, that might be a fun thing. But maybe Warner Brothers will make something happen. God knows, between all of us, you, me, Frank, Warner Brothers, all of us, it takes a village, doesn't it? Okay.
I like the way you think, Marty.
Oh, man. Could you imagine living with me? I'm exhausted watching me speak.
So other than the actual pleasure of coming back and revisiting this character, what was your favorite part of coming in and doing this crossover film?
Other than coming back and doing the character and getting a paycheck and all that good stuff, what was my favorite part of doing this crossover film? I think the idea.
Paycheck counts. The paycheck is the thing.
Right, exactly. But no, I'm going to say that, honestly, I have to say, and I mean this, I am, was kind of tickled because though Scooby-Doo was not, as I say, was not what I grew up with or that I spent a whole lot of time with Scooby-Doo. I got an appreciation of him. I thought he was, it was a fun show for sure, with the posse and all that stuff. But there was no denying that Scooby-Doo, as I've said before in a jestful way, but it is true, as an empire. And the idea that that this incredible part of popular American culture since 1969, right? When you really, right? I was getting a chance, a sense of humility. And it's not that Courage doesn't stand on its own as this wonderful, having a nice fan base and certainly a modicum of success as a TV show, all of that wonderful stuff, and continues to be near and dear to people's hearts. But there is no denying the hugeness of the Scooby-Doo. And so I was touched and honored, that this popular culture giant behemoth saw fit to find a way to combine that I got to combine with this giant, because that kind of drama is not lost on me, even though it's fabricated drama. It's drama that I appreciate and that I live with, because after all, my other choice is to live in the real world, which is got some really nasty stuff going on. So let's go with the drama of this. And I feel really, really good about that. How's that for a nice, short, concise answer to your question?
That's perfect. Absolutely perfect. So I'm hoping that with this film, a lot more people are kind of introduced to Courage, and some people reintroduced. Like for me, for example, it was always on the list. It was always something that I wanted to get to among the, hundreds of thousands of other shows that I want to watch.
Right.
It gave me the push I needed, and I'm enjoying the pants off of that series. I'm gonna go and buy the complete series DVD as soon as I can.
You watch the first season first, right?
Yes.
But you're gonna watch it first.
And I'm hoping that it drives people to rediscover this or discover it, like I said, and possibly, I mean, like I said, there've been a couple of attempts to get a Courage revival in some way off the ground. If something like that does happen, I'm assuming you're down to play.
As long as I'm still alive, I'm down to do it. That's all. I mean, if I, that's the main issue. If I'm still alive when they finally decide to do this, I'm down. I am absolutely down, excited to do it. Absolutely.
Perfect. That's pretty much all my questions. Is there anything you'd like to add or throw in?
No, I really just want to say once again, God bless you, Thea. And my thoughts are always with you. And you reached a lot of people. You reached the man that's hosting this podcast. You reached him and choked him up. And so somehow you made people cry. Why'd you do that? God bless you, Thea. That's what I want to say.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Marty, for being on the show. It was great to have you. It was great to chat with you. And
you too.
Get your perspective on Straight Outta Nowhere, Scooby-Doo Meets Courage the Cowardly Dog on DVD and digital.
Oh, September 14th on DVD and digital. It will be released. If you want to, I could plug myself, right? I get to plug myself, 100%. Right? Marty Grabstein Courage on Facebook, or just plain Marty Grabstein on Instagram. If you want to stay in touch, say hello, say Mike sent me from a podcast named Scooby-Doo. Whatever you want to do, I'll be around. Do
you do the Twitter hello. Or just the Instagram?
I have not been doing Twitter. I think I have to learn that. I'm getting to it. It's really Facebook is the main thing.
I mean, Twitter's kind of a dumpster fire and always has been, but
is it what?
It's kind of a dumpster fire and always has been.
Oh, okay. But, okay.
But there's
maybe I shouldn't be in such a rush to get Twitter.
There's some good aspects to it.
You think I'd survive on Twitter? I don't know.
You might have fun.
Do I seem right for Twitter?
That's well, crazy. I'm certainly going to go follow your Instagram and your Facebook. So
yeah, the Facebook primarily is what I'm mostly engaged in. I'm trying to do more Instagram stuff, but Facebook is the main, because I'm an old guy. The old guys like Facebook somehow. Why? Because you could do longer stuff. You're assuming that people have a longer attention span. With Facebook, you're making an assumption with that, because I guarantee you, I barely have a long enough attention span to watch some of the posts that I myself do. So yeah, I go, but yeah, please stay hello, Mike, and stay in touch. It was great talking to you. I love your, straightforward style and great.
And Scooby fans, go pick this thing up, and Courage fans need to go pick this up and go on social media if you like it, and tell Warner Brothers you want to see more of Courage the Cowardly Dog.
My man.
It's time. It's time for that crazy show to kind of roll around again.
Please, yeah.
It's a good show for this time in our lives.
I think we need it. Absolutely.
All right. Thank
you. Pleasure,
man.
God bless you. Take care.
Take care. And that brings to a close my conversation with Courage the Cowardly Dog voice actor, Marty Grabstein. Hope you had as much fun with that as I did. Like I said, Marty's a big personality, he's got a big heart, and it's hella hard not to have a good time when you're sitting down and chatting with him. I'd encourage everybody to check out his Instagram and his Facebook page. And like I said at the end of the conversation, if you check out this show, Straight Outta Nowhere, Scooby-Doo Meets Courage the Cowardly Dog, if you're a Courage the Cowardly Dog fan, or if you just really got a kick out of listening to Marty, or you just really think he should get back to work doing the voice of Courage, go to social media, let Warner Brothers know that you are interested in seeing more, whether it's more crossovers or a Courage solo project. It's a fun show. It's a crazy show. I've been binging it, and it deserves a second life. And like I said in the conversation, these are crazy times, and I think this is a show that kind of fits these crazy times. And speaking of social media, if you want to engage with the podcast, feel free to check me out on Instagram, a podcast named Scooby-Doo, Twitter at Scooby-Doocast, Facebook, a podcast named Scooby-Doo. There is a blog named Scooby-Doo, which is scoobydoocast.wordpress.com. And you can check out the podcast proper, which you probably already have access to if you're listening to this one, since they're essentially on the same RSS feed, but that's scoobydoocast.com. If you enjoy the conversations and the content, feel free to like, share, follow, subscribe on the social media, and spread the word. Like and retweet and do all that sort of stuff that lets other people know that the podcast is out there. And, word of mouth, it is a powerful, powerful tool. With that, I will take my leave. Again, if you haven't watched the film, seek it out, check it out. I had fun with it. I hope you do too. My thanks to Alex and Inez at Warner Brothers for setting this up. And to everybody, I wish you good health. Hope you're all safe and taking care of yourselves and each other. And we'll catch you next time on a podcast named Scooby-Doo. Take care.
Hold on, it's saying continue. This meeting is being recorded. You are consenting to the recording. Good. Yes, I'm consenting.